Hello. Welcome to our webinar on why Dara is ruining satellites for everybody else who wants to play the Irish Open. I am Barry Carter. I'm here with Dara O'Kearney. If you are unfamiliar with us, we have a site called Simplified Poker Academy where we try and make the more complex aspects of poker a little bit easier to digest. We also have a best-selling book on satellites. I think we can call it best-selling. There are only 2 books on satellites, but the other one's rubbish, so you don't need to get that. And Dara, before we get into the art of winning 21 satellite tickets to the Irish Open and counting, a lot of people talk about the Irish Open like it's this hilarious big drinking event. It's a big party. It's a festival. It's not all about the poker. But I kind of actually think in recent times, the secret sauce to the Irish Open has been the dedication that they've shown towards satellite winners.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the Irish Open is a lot of things to a lot of different people, and maybe there's sometimes an over focus on the drinking, but it's just an incredible festival overall. It's the biggest outside of Vegas. The number of tables they're going to have this year is, I believe, 280, which is up on last year, and that makes it biggest as well. And yeah, just the two main sites. There's actually satellites on a lot of different sites, but the two main sites and the ones that I play on, Stars and Paddy Power / iPoker, they churn out an awful lot of satellite qualifiers, over 1,000 for the main event alone. And the sites do treat them very well. A couple of years ago, they actually gave everybody who satellited in a copy of one of our books. And
I wish they'd do that now. We do quite well, wouldn't we?
Yeah, but we're doing this webinar out of respect for them. We obviously have our own Simplified Poker Academy. We're giving away a ticket which the Irish Open have very graciously given in a contest over there. Won't focus too much on that. The main thing here is just to sort of talk about satellite strategy in general. A lot of people maybe are only starting to play the satellites now, or they've been playing for them a while and they're frustrated that people like me keep winning them all. So I will give away some of my secrets in this.
Just briefly on that, Dara, we're going to go into the specifics of iPoker and PokerStar satellites in a moment. But to people that are perhaps new to this, why do you need 21 tickets and counting? Why are you playing for multiple packages? And is that fair?
Well, question of whether it's fair is, not something I necessarily have a strong opinion on. Because it's allowed, it's obviously in my interest to do it. The reason why it's in my interest to do it is the tickets that I win, at the very least, they can be used for other events. And as I said, it's a very full schedule. The first big event of the festival is a 1K mystery bounty. So, I can use spare tickets for that. That's unlimited re-entry as well. So quite a few of them could end up being used in that. There are high rollers as well. I can use, say, 5 tickets to enter a 5K. There's a 10K as well. Depending on how many tickets I end up with, that will kind of determine how many of those bigger tournaments I will do. But if I can get in for, I've worked out roughly that on average I spend 250 to 300 on every ticket I win. So if I can get into a 5K, say, for 1,500, then it becomes incredibly profitable for me to do that. Even if I don't think I'm going to have much of an edge in the 5K, which I probably won't have. So I wouldn't play a 5K on my own money. It's too much of my bankroll to commit to a tournament of that buy-in. And, at the end of the year, my results will very much come down to whether I've cashed in tournaments like that or not. But if I can get in for 1,500, obviously it's an insanely profitable situation for me. So that's kind of the main reason I do it. The Stars tickets are actually even more flexible in the sense that they can be used for other Stars events like EPTs. I've already actually used some of the Irish Open tickets at EPT Prague to buy into events there. So yeah, it's really just kind of a way of running up a live bankroll, I guess.
Yeah. So we'll jump into we're going to do a quick presentation, and then we're going to look at a particularly tricky satellite that you played recently, and I think we'll learn a lot from that. So we're saying at the time of writing, you've won 21. Are you making a cap? Is there a point when you'll stop? Could we see you win 50 tickets? Or
50 seems unlikely. I have an ongoing prop bet with my very good friend and student Ray Wheatley. apologies to people who don't follow football. This next 30 seconds probably won't mean much to you, but I'm an Arsenal fan. Ray is a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Thoughts and prayers to him. It's a grim gig, and we agreed at the start of December that whoever won the most satellites would have to wear the other club's shirt at the Irish Open itself. Now, the thought of wearing a Spurs shirt fills me with horror, and the thought of wearing an Arsenal shirt fills Ray with horror. So it kind of gave me an extra incentive to grind the satellites, which I was going to do anyway. But yeah, I definitely want to avoid having to wear a Spurs shirt. Ray reckons my final total will be in or around 30. And, he plays more than I do because he's at home more. But I will play as many as I can, given other commitments. My record, incidentally, is 23, and I've kind of set that as the immediate target. I want to break my previous record, 23 in 1 year. But yeah, if I end up with 30, I'll be happy. But there will be no cap. Like I might very well be grinding the last one on my phone at the event.
I'm a Sheffield Wednesday fan, and I currently have 0 tickets, which I think is probably accurate if you place them where they are in the league at the moment. Let me just. So there are lots of operators that will do Irish Open satellites and live operators as well. I mean, my nearby club, Dusseldorn in the UK, is doing an Irish Open satellite. But there are kind of 3 big regular satellites. There's a €150 phase satellite. Now, a phase satellite is where you have a day one, similar to in a live poker tournament, and you take your stack forward to the the final day. Sorry. So it's not like you win a ticket; you carry your stack forward. There's a €50 rebuy and add-on tournament. We're going to talk about the ideal strategy for that, and that happens a couple of times in the week, maybe many times in the week, actually. Both of those two are on iPoker and Paddy Poker. And then PokerStars has several $109 freeze-out satellites, a big one on Sunday and a couple in the week. And you can satellite into those. And those are the more traditional type of satellite. We're going to kind of talk about the nuances of these before we jump into that. Like, of those 3 satellites, like, where are most of your tickets coming from?
It's pretty close. I mean, the least has come from the 150 phase satellites because there's only one a week. And to be honest, the way I play that one, I never buy in for 150. There are 15 feeders which are really good. You can get into a 15 feeder, and if you max late reg and take the add-on, you get, I think, something like 3.5 starting stacks for the price of 2. My hit rate in those is insane. I win a 150 ticket well over half the time. And then I play a 150. Now, you can obviously not get through to day 2, so you can fire a few 150s in the same week. I haven't made all the finals. As I said, I don't buy in, so I run up tickets, I play them, and I try to get into the final. But I have won a few in those. Now, they're packages as well, so that's worth noting. It's more it's basically double the price of a ticket. And you get the extra as cash. They're very, very good. They're very, very soft. So I strongly recommend those. I recommend that you do the same thing as I do, play the feeders to the 150 rather than buying for 150. The 50 rebuy and add-on, I have the same strategies in the feeders for the 150. I max late reg. They're very good as well. Maybe not quite as soft as the 150 in my opinion. There is actually another tournament. It's only on Paddy or iPoker on a Thursday specifically, and it's a 10 rebuy add-on. That's by far the softest, as you'd expect, because of the low buy-in. The only problem with that one is it tends to be winner takes all, because it only generates 1 ticket. Obviously, with everybody only chucking in 10 or 20, it doesn't really get enough for more than that. But the good thing is that there's usually an overlay, and I've actually won that 3 times out of like 5 times I've played it. So probably just in terms of sheer ROI, that's by far my best return. 3 tickets for probably about 100, an outlay of 100. But it's the same in structure as the 50 rebuy add-on. So the correct strategy is to just max late reg and take the add-on. sometimes people say, well, why is that the correct strategy? Well, if you think about it, like every time, if you go in early and you bust, you have to rebuy. Um, and you're only getting the starting stack. So you end up paying more for your chips on average if you do that. The 109 freeze out, definitely the toughest field.
Mm.
Um, you've got top regs like Tom Halls, known as Jabbercada, Jack Hardcastle, David Docherty, former winner of the Irish Open. They're all regularly in these. Robbie Bull. They're very, very tough fields, but they generate a lot of tickets. They're also not rebuy add-on, so there is still an ICM benefit to max slate edging. To be honest, I tend to go in at the start because they're very mixed fields, um, and often the weaker players bust fairly quickly. So if you max slate reg, you can often find yourself just playing against regs, um,
Mm.
which is obviously not great. They are the most flexible packages, which is why even though they're the toughest satellites, I still play them. And I have won. Actually, now I think about it, this is the one where I've won the most because I've won almost half of my seats on stars. So therefore,
Yeah.
it's more than the other two put together, or it's the same as the other two put together. But it's also fair to say I've fired much harder there because
Yeah.
I do. It's also re-entry.
Yeah, yeah. Just to pick up on some of the other nuances of these things. So, if you play the big phase satellite on a Sunday, the biggest exploit in these games is that when phase one ends, people think it's a bubble like a regular satellite because technically that's what happens. You have to wait for one more player to bust and then you're through to the next stage. But in reality, all you're doing, there's not much difference between the end of the first phase and the start of the second phase. It really is just like a tournament where with a day one and a day two. But most people don't understand this, Dara. So the exploit tends to be to play more aggressively than you normally would because people are holding on for dear life.
Yeah, it reminds me very much of the end of a live day one where you're still miles away from the bubble, and yet people do kind of lock up because they want to make day two. Live, it tends to be for emotional reasons. I think there's some emotional reasons as well. People just want to make the final, particularly if they think they have an okay stack. But the thing about the phase satellites is, it's 150 to a 2250 package. So it's really 1 in 15. So the average stack when the tickets are given out is 15 starting stacks. And you see people locking up with like 2 or 3 starting stacks thinking, well, I've had a great first phase. And maybe they feel they're nearer to the ticket than they actually are, but they still only have 20% of the chips that they're probably going to need to get there. So yeah, it's a very common mistake in phase satellites in general. People kind of think it's a bubble, but it's not really.
Yeah. Now, the rebuy and add-ons, you've already mentioned that you get more bang for your buck when you max like reg and add on because you're getting free starting stacks for the price of two, as you mentioned. I've added a little note here, which is you can satellite into these as a €5 satellite to win a €50 ticket. But the problem with that is that you're auto registered for the final stage. So you, first of all, can't benefit from this late registration strategy. But secondly, you have to, if you want to get the max out of it and you want to have that add-on, you then have to pull up your own money for it, which is fine if you just like to play all the satellites. But if a €50 tournament is slightly out of your buying range, your comfort zone, you're suddenly forced with this decision of having to put your own money up for something that you wanted to get in on cheap.
Yeah, I agree completely, and that's why I don't play the satellites to those, even though the satellites themselves would obviously be profitable. But I don't want to go in from the start. That's kind of the crucial thing. On the other hand, I do play the feeders on PokerStars because I do think there's value because there is no bigger add-on. And again, like not to belabor the point, but sometimes people don't get why um, the, you want to come in late. But again, like let's say there are different amounts for different satellites. But let's say you're getting 10,000 chips starting stack, and also if you have to rebuy, you're getting 10,000 chips. But the add-on is 25,000. That is actually one of the structures. Then if you do what I do, max late reg and take the add-on, you're getting 35,000 chips for 2 buy-ins, which is 100, let's say.
Yeah.
If you go in from the start and you have to rebuy, now you're getting 45,000 chips for 150. So you're paying an extra 50 for only 10,000 extra chips. Now, I think if you went to somebody in a normal tournament and told them, okay, starting stack is 35,000 and it costs you 100, but if you give me another 50, I'll give you another 10,000 chips. Everybody go like, that's a terrible deal. I'm not even getting half a stack for the extra 50. But sometimes I think people lose sight of that. And it can get even worse. Like sometimes people do 2 or 3 rebuys and then it gets even worse. Maybe they paid 5 or 6 buy-ins for only double the chips. So that's why you should really be max layer regging those. Now, unfortunately, sometimes those satellites don't start because if everybody does that, they'll never start. Everybody's waiting for the max layer reg out. But I guess that's why they force the satellite qualifiers from the feeders in early.
Yeah. Now, we're going to look at some hands from a recent satellite Dara played, but if you've never looked at poker satellite strategy before, here is a very, very quick primer. Dara, don't go into too much depth because I know you could do this for an hour, but I've picked out 5 really useful tidbits for most satellites. There are different formats where there's nuances to it. But first of all, fold equity is the most important form of equity. It's always a good result to get someone to fold in the end game stages of satellites, even if you've got a really good hand.
Yeah, absolutely. You generally don't want to get called, particularly around bubbles, and we'll see that in the hand example I'm going to do afterwards. People sometimes misunderstand what fold equity means. Fold equity means how much you make when people fold, and the probability that they'll fold is super important. Like if somebody's going to fold 90% of the time, then when you shove, your fold equity is 90% of the pot because 90% of the time they're folding and you're winning the immediate pot. But if they're only folding 10% of the time, then your fold equity is only 10%. So it can be very different. And when you're playing the end of satellites, you want to be getting it in with fold equity as much as possible. You want to be shoving on people who are more likely to fold, and you want to be getting it in first.
Yeah. And then broadly speaking, you will see extremes of this at the end of satellites, but generally speaking, play tighter overall than you would in a regular tournament. So the first bit of advice we tend to give people before we get to the nuances of when it's correct to fold aces pre-flop when you've got a seat locked up is to just play a little bit tighter than you normally would. So, if 9s is normally a call in a spot, maybe 10s is a call. Yeah, you maybe take some slightly lower variance lines as well, Dara.
Yeah, like I always think of it as a sort of, I think we coined this term for one of our books, the ICM dial. And as the ICM dial ratchets up, you just shave off more and more of the range. You start with a certain range in any given spot, if it's folded to you on the button, if you're under the gun. So you have an idea of what your range would roughly be. As you get further and further into the satellite, that range gets tighter and tighter. Particularly when you already have a very healthy stack. So you just kind of can think of like the bottom of the range disappearing. And it can get so tight, for example, when you're locked up, that just literally the whole range disappears. Like there's no point in even playing aces anymore because you've already got enough chips for a seat. What does it matter if you've got a few more chips? It doesn't help you in the slightest. But if you if you do get involved with aces and lose, then that's just a disaster. The example I always quote on that is the very first time I qualified for World Series main event, 55 people left, 54 seats. I was one of the shorties, so I was really sweating the bubble. But I saw that there was a guy on another table who had less than an ante. So he was basically, he was done. Even if he somehow won the next hand, he was still going to have less than an ante. And he was going to be all in the next hand as well. And then he was going to be in the blind very next hand. So in my mind, the satellite was over. But this hand happened where, the chip leader who was one of 55 at my table was having a great time. He was just playing every hand. So he opens. And then the guy who's fourth in chips calls in the big blind. And the flop came king 4-3, something like that. And the guy who was fourth just open jammed. And the other guy went into the tank. Eventually he calls. He's got aces, and the other guy has kings. So he's flop top set. It runs out the wheel, 2-5. So the aces knocks out the kings. Now, when I told people the hand afterwards, they were like, oh, that's so unlucky for the kings. He got it in with the nuts and so on. But he made a horrendous mistake even getting involved in the hand in the first place. His first mistake was calling pre-flop when there's no need to, when the satellite is going to be over in 2 or 3 hands anyway. And his second mistake, even though he has the nuts on the flop, it's not the unbreakable nuts. So the shove is pretty terrible as well. That's an example of like when you're just the range disappears to zero because you're so near the bubble and you're already there.
Now, one of the biggest decisions you can actually make in a satellite that will affect your ROI is when you register for the satellite. We could get into the maths of this, but it would be another webinar. If you just want to Google our names and late registration, you'll see a number of articles where you can actually look at the numbers on this. But Dara, if you register late for a satellite, practically speaking, the closer you register to the money, even though you're going to come in at a chip deficit relative to the average stack, the better, right? Because it's not about winning the tournament; it's about min cashing it, essentially.
Yeah, the more seats there are, the truer this is. Like in the Star satellites or the Paddy satellites, the 50 rebuy, where there's typically four to 10 seats, then it's actually a huge benefit. Even if you think you're miles off, like even if it's still 35 people left, when you do the maths on this, your buy-in can be worth like 1.3 times what it should actually be worth because of what we call the ICM boost of coming in late. In a normal tournament, you get the same boost, but it's usually much smaller. It's like 5 to 10% because your chance of winning the tournament haven't gone up by coming in late. You still only have the percentage of chips that you had. Your chances of coming second haven't gone up greatly either, but your chance of coming 10th have gone up considerably. Well, that's not great in a normal. That's worth something in a normal tournament, but 10th is just 10th at the end of the day if it's the min cash. But in a satellite, 10th might be there might be 10 seats, so it's huge. So the boost you get for late registering a satellite is much bigger, and that's why it's kind of become endemic now. That more and more people are doing it. Kind of the word has gotten out just how profitable it is.
Now, Dara has already kind of touched on why it's a big mistake to call off light, so we won't belabor that one. But this final point, know when you're locked up. And what I mean by that is know when you are in a situation where you can just stall, fold, stop playing, and you're almost guaranteed a seat. Now, in our best-selling book, much better than the other one that's on the market, we give some heuristics on what to look for with that one. But a very basic one is like you can estimate what the target stack you want to have at the end of the satellite. And once you get there or close to there, you can essentially slow down, stop playing, stop calling off, maybe even fold aces. And Dara, that would typically be, if 1 in 10 players gets a seat, that would typically be somewhere around 10 starting stacks. But it can be less than that.
Yeah. If there's overlay, that can change the maths. But yeah, it's generally in that example 10 starting stacks. So you should always bear that in mind as kind of like a target. Now there is the newer form of satellite which are actually target satellites, but none of the online satellites that I know of are target satellites yet for the Irish Open. So we won't talk too much about them. But once you reach that sort of nominal target, you should at the very least be tightening up considerably. You really just kind of maintain your stack, and then as you get near to the bubble, like if you have 2 times the target, you just don't really have a reason to get involved for a lot of chips. Because if you just keep folding, sometimes it gets very tense and you get down below the target before the bubble bursts, but you would have to be very unlucky. Generally, when you see people bubbling from a situation where they appear to be locked up, it's because they called off at some point and lost, rather than they kept folding. And the example that I've picked that we're going to go through afterwards is a perfect illustration of that. Slight spoiler as to how it's going to turn out, obviously. But the reason why I picked it was I think sometimes people feel that they're locked up and then the bubble goes on for much longer and they get kind of frustrated and they just see their chip stack going down and they kind of panic a little bit at the end. So yeah, we'll cover that in the hand history.
Well, we can jump into that now, Dara. If Dave, you want to swap the screens around so we can. And
4.2 and Joey the Lips of 5.52. So my initial take when I looked at this, when the final table formed, was these two guys are in trouble. But I am so far from locked up because even though I'm third out of 8 and 5 are getting seats, these guys are not far behind me at all. These guys don't really have much incentive to get involved. So they're not quite locked up yet. But if we think that 2 of those seats are gone, most of the time to those two guys. That leaves 3 seats between the remaining 6 of us. Now, these 2 guys are obviously at a disadvantage. They almost count like 1 player. And then everybody else is... Now, I have more than the others, so I have a slightly thing. But if we were all level and these 2 counted as 1 player, that would mean 3 seats from 5 people. 60% roughly is your chance if you're, say, one of these people. My chances should be higher than that. I should be about 65% from here. What does that mean in practice? That means if somebody goes all in, I need at least 65% equity to call off. That's fairly significant. Like even a hand like Ace King doesn't have 65% against any 2, for example. So initially, I should be playing very tight. And really not looking to get involved and just wait to see kind of what develops, how the stacks move around.
Yeah. And as we'll whiz through like the obvious folds and stuff, but as Dara said, so Dara mentioned that there was a smaller prize. We did a bit of study into this, and basically, if there's say 4 £1,000 seats, €1,000 seats, and a smaller prize of, let's say, €300 or €600, we kind of came to the conclusion that once the prize is close to sort of 60 to 70, maybe 80% of what the seat value is, treat it like it's another seat. If it's something like €300 and it's a 1K seat, don't really consider it. It's just a bonus for the bubble boy, but you shouldn't really be playing tight to acquire it, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it just doesn't really affect the outcome. So I'm not going to just focus on my hands, because I'm going to look at how other people are playing as well. This guy did impress me, as he knew what he was doing. He shoved, and you might say, "Oh wow, he's shoving 27 bigs in a spot where we kind of think he's locked up." But if he's going to play his hand, the last thing he wants to do is raise to 2 big blinds and get shoved on by one of these 2 guys. And then if he loses, he's dragged back into it. So if he decides to play his hand, he should just shove it. The most he can lose is 10 big blinds to this guy, just under 10 big blinds. And when he shoves, these guys are going to play obviously much tighter. So this is kind of like when you have this sort of stack, don't be min raising. Just go ahead and shove.
Yeah.
Next hand, let's see if anything interesting happens. This guy shoves again. This is the correct strategy. Maybe if he has aces or something, aces or kings, he can raise and call. But for the most part, he should be just shoving and nothing happens. Okay, again, I have no decision here. Again, this guy shoves. This, again, might seem rash, but all the stacks behind are shorter. The blinds have gone up in the meantime as well. He's not making a mistake a lot of people do, which is to lock up prematurely. If you lock up prematurely, like these bubbles, as we can see, can go on for quite a lot of time. So he shoves. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. And with regards to that, there is a bit of a difference between whether the bubble or near bubble is on a single table or across multiple tables. There's a lot more impetus to lock up early when there's multiple tables, and you can kind of expect other players to do your bidding and knock each other out, and you can stall and stuff. But when it's a single table, the blinds come around to you much more often.
Yeah, absolutely, they do. And the other players will be taking shove spots as well. So you often won't get that many spots where you can get it in first, and that's kind of really what you're looking for.
I was given that interesting spiel, and I completely didn't pay attention to how Queen Jack has managed to get it all in against.
We only had 3 big blinds, to be fair.
Okay, fair enough.
So, to be honest, I still don't like the call, but yeah, it's like I don't think he's going to be in good shape against this guy's range. But this guy had shoved already. Sometimes people get a little bit, he's shoving every hand.
Yeah,
it kind of doesn't matter when you got Queen Jack suited. Question from Anne Lockton. Hi, Anne. Nice to see you. Guessing he can shove most of his range. Yeah, like he shouldn't really be inducing anything. I don't think even if he has aces, he necessarily wants to risk losing 8 or 9 big blinds. He just kind of wants to take the 2.5 big blinds that are out there, maintain his stack, and maintain his very good position. So he wins the hand. So now we're down to 7. So let's do a quick stock take on how people are doing. He's now moved into the chip lead. Bad Grandma is still in great shape. And then the rest of us are all kind of super short. So you can kind of think, okay, well, these 2 should be locked up in most worlds. And that leaves 3 from 5 still. for a seat. So if we all had the same stack, we'd all be about 60%. Now I'm the chip leader of the second group, so I'm more than 60%. I'm probably 65 to 70%. And this guy who's these guys who are the shortest they're less than 60%. So maybe they're like 50 to 55%. So they can play reasonably normally. If they get all in and it doubles their chances, they're risking the same amount as they stand to gain. But I'm in a spot now where I really don't want to be calling off light because I'm 65 to 70% if I fold. So my strategy should still be to play very tight.
You're in a terrible seat position as well, Dara.
I'm also in a terrible seat position, yeah. So that's why I don't play the ace-4. I could shove it in. Most of the time they'll fold, but it's just too risky in early position. Now, it is the right type of hand to shove because you have an ace and you're blocking the calls. But, we saw Queen Jack suited call off the last time. It'd be a disaster for me if one of these guys calls off with Queen Jack suited and I'm only slightly better than 50% then to win. So let's see how the hand played out. So he jams and everybody folds. Next hand, I have Ace King suited. Now,
tricky spot.
Now, what do you reckon here, Barry? We saw him shove Ace Jack before.
Right, so my instinct is that this would be, and sorry for the nerd speak, but I suspect this could be a solver fold, but a future game call. Like I think if you were slightly bigger than Steve B or JP McManus, I think this is perhaps a fold. But I just kind of feel like, I think you're going to be crushing him so often, and it's just, you've already got a chip in. Yeah, I mean, I struggle to let this one go, even though I suspect that sometimes this is a fold.
Yeah, well, even if I dominate him, I only have 72% equity. And given my position, I need at least 65, maybe close to 70% equity. Then when you add in the time it's a pair and it's a flip and I only have 50% equity, suddenly it starts to look very, very hairy. So I folded. I thought this was a fairly trivial fold, to be honest. Now, if I'm one of these stacks, you can... I would call because these guys are only 50%, so their upside is much greater, but my downside is considerable. If we call, this probably locks us up or very close to it. But let's say I'm 70% if I fold, and I call I'm 95%. Well, that means I only gain 25%, and I lose 70 when I lose. I go from 70 down to 0, obviously. So that's what makes it a pretty trivial fold, in my opinion.
It's also probably an easier fold for yourself, Dara, because you know exactly how to navigate these spots. If someone who is less experienced in satellites sees themselves in this spot, maybe they're in the PokerStar satellite against all the crushers. Maybe that justifies making it a call because they be kind of a positive flip for them, and then they would be locked up.
Yeah, that's definitely a reasonable point. But you'll notice that I've been trying to do these calculations of what I think everybody's chances are from here. And that's kind of the way you should be approaching these spots. Estimate what you think your chances are of if you just fold it in any given hand. And then that kind of tells you what equity you need to call off. So next hand, let's see what happens. This guy shoves and we all fold. Next hand, I've got 6-2. I mean, if I shove, they will fold a lot, but 6-2 is not the hand to go with. Next hand, I have King 4 suited. Now, this is a more tempting one. This guy, if I shove, has to worry not just about me, but these two people behind. So he has no reason to really call. These two guys, they're sort of like the same stack as me. So they're above 50% as well. It's a tempting one, but I
don't think I shove.
Yeah,
I think I shove if I'm a little bit shallower relative to the field because I've got to kind of pick up chips from somewhere. But
yeah, so we see these two getting it in, and let's just see Ace Jack. That's obviously a bog standard shove. Ace Jack. I do remember in game that this guy tanked forever, and this does feel really, really close to me. But he is one of these two guys who probably is less than 50%.
Yeah.
So I think it's a call, all right. King 2, I'm not going to get involved here, but let's see if anything else happens. No, there's a walk. King 4 suited, I'm in earlier position, so I'm obviously not even considering that. Steve shoves, everybody folds. Now, one thing to notice is that even when you're short, you do have full equity because other players are not looking to get involved.
No.
And that's why you shouldn't panic prematurely. as you get shorter. Like I'm down to 8.5, 8.5 big blinds now, but I'm not panicking because I know I still have fold equity when I shove.
Yeah, this is a really important point, Dara. Like, you can find fold equity where you'd never find it elsewhere. So sometimes, for example, when I'm quite short in a satellite, rather than my position, I'm looking for when the other short player is in the big blind, and I want to shove them because I actually might be able to make them fold with just 4 big blinds if they only have 5 big blinds.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like this guy only has 5.8 big blinds. If this is a normal tournament, this is a snap with twos. But because it's a satellite, it's a completely different situation. So now I kind of have to do that mental calculation again. It's 3 from 5. These two guys have more than me. These two guys have less than me. I'm probably, therefore, I'm slightly more than 50%. So this actually starts to become a close spot. I think if I ran this in a solver, the solver would probably say it's a call. But I decided to fold because I'm adhering that thing we talked about, that fold equity is so important.
Yeah.
I still have fold equity with this stack, so I would rather get the chips in than, kind of get them in first rather than call it off knowing at best case scenario it's a flip.
Would you have folded the twos if it was bad grandma that shoved on your small blind?
I would still have folded. Yeah.
I actually, to be an absolute nerd, I actually think the twos are probably in worse shape against that guy because they.
Plus, I'm definitely out. Like if I call here, okay, I'm only going to have like what is it, 2.5 big blinds left, or 3.5, but I'm not going to be dead, but I'm going to be in very bad shape. So I just don't need to take the spot. Next one now. This is interesting if it comes around to me. I don't remember if it did. Again, like this would be a fairly standard call in a normal tournament, but fold equity is everything in a satellite.
Plus, King 10 is never ahead, right? It's going to have good equity.
Well, probably not. No, this is our good friend. I guess for GDPR reasons, we won't say who he is, but he's Simplified Poker Academy member. I got 5-2 on the button. JP McManus is again. I know this player. They play satellites very well. Like everybody's kind of doing the right things for the most part. They're just shopping and not doing anything else. This is an unfortunate reality of bubbles recently. People play them much better than they used to because Pair of Idiots wrote a book telling people how to play bubbles.
Yeah. Well, my last Irish Open satellite, I went out on the bubble with a guy that spike called me with 8-9 off. So they're still out there.
Yeah. What are you doing here, Barry, with King 9?
Right, let's have a look. We are much shorter than everyone else who's left to act. I'm going for it. We're the shortest player at the table now. I think we've got pretty good fold equity against JP, especially if he's or just leave a few chips behind, just on the off chance that YME is going to isolate and get the pot heads up for you.
This is something people ask me sometimes, why I leave a small amount of chips. One reason is it sometimes confuses people. They can't do the maths as easily as when you shove. But another reason, there are another reasons. Let's say it goes shove, shove, shove.
Yeah.
Okay, there's only 5 seats, so I probably can't fold. But if we were near the bubble, I could. So there are some weird situations where you might actually fold. But this is, I think I'm calling off anybody here. To go back to why I'm shoving here, I actually think I have really good fold equity on all of these guys because they don't have any reason to get involved. They're currently in good shape. This guy's chip leader. These are the two leaders of the second pack, as it were. They're well clear of us, so they don't really want to get sucked in. So even though I have a really bad hand, this is I think this is a fairly standard shove, and it gets through. The question was for the Ace King suited hand. Yeah, I would have folded, like, even if it's any 2, I don't think I have the right price when you consider all of the factors. So I would have shoved. I would have actually folded to anybody who covered me, even from the small blind.
Yeah, if you look at when you go look at the solves for these things, like unpaired hands go out of the range even when it's Ace King when there's high ICM pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, what do you think about threes here, Barry?
Oh no, well, I mean, luckily,
I wouldn't have taken it anyway.
Yeah, I would have folded anyway. you're never in great shape when called unless someone because they
Yeah,
are.
there's a couple of factors here. I've shoved the previous hand, and in my experience, people are more likely to call you when you shove two hands in a row.
Mhm.
We saw that at the start of this when the Queen Jack suited called the second shove. The other thing is like we don't have an ace in our hand, so we're not blocking the really strong hands that are going to call us.
Yeah, I'm happier shoving ace four off, to be perfectly
Yeah,
honest.
and the other thing is like even though all that happened last time is I shoved and I got it through, my situation is way better than it was. Like I
Mm.
was the shortest stacked when I shoved last hand. Now I'm only the third shortest. So I'm actually more than 50% for a seat again. So again, be selective. Don't just take every spot that looks like a shove to you. Think about these. Think about all these factors. So yeah, I wouldn't have taken it. Tech Jam shoves and gets it through. What about eights here?
Yeah, totally. Eights is definitely high up there in the hands that we
Yeah,
want to get
yeah.
in.
Like I said, we know we want to have an ace, but like at the end of the day, eights with only five players behind, it's going to be the best hand so often, and people are not going to call off ace nine, ace 10. Lots of those hands that we're flipping against.
Yeah.
So we do get it true. Next time we get eights again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously our situation has changed in two factors because now we have more chips and we're in an earlier seat position. But yeah, I still go for it.
Yeah, I didn't go for it. Again, the two in a row rule. I don't like shoving two hands in a row because there are guys who make what I call a fuck this guy rule. A call. They're like, okay, he's shoving every hand now. So I
Eight,
suddenly I think my Jack 10 suited is a call.
you shove eights there if you'd not shoved the previous hand though.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Okay. Interesting.
yeah. And the other thing is now my situation is way better. I'm well clear of this guy. I'm a good, nice bit clear of this guy, and I'm not actually far behind this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm well over 50% for a seat now. And this is the important thing that I'm trying to emphasize. Constantly be asking yourself, what are my chances of getting a seat if I just fold?
Yeah.
Tech Jam folds. Now, this player, the two chip leaders so far seem to be taking very different routes. Now, it's possible bad grandma is just getting lots of bad hands, but it's also possible they've locked up a little bit prematurely. And just keep an eye on that. We've seen this guy shove twice already. We haven't seen bad grandma play a hand yet. Actually, if we turn the HUD on, we'll see that going into the final table, this was a much looser player. They were playing 25% to hands, raising 22%. This guy was only 18 and 14. But sometimes very loose players actually lock up a bit too much on final tables and in satellites in particular.
Sam Dobbins has a good question. Without an academy member, would we be more aggressive against an academy member because we feel like they wouldn't want to call us off light for fear of embarrassing themselves? My answer to that is yes.
No. I to be honest, I would never take that into account. I would just have them tagged as a good player, and I would play the same way I would against anybody I've tagged as a good player, which is to say, I think I have more fold equity on my shoves anyway because they understand that they're supposed to call off tight. The only real thing I pay attention to in satellites is people who call off too wide, because they can really mess you up.
Yeah. I mean, Dara, just before we go any further, you actually said one of your secret sources for winning so many satellites is that you do tag all the players and with their different playing styles, so the calling stations and the nits, because you're going to play against them so frequently. And
yeah, that's an important point actually, and we haven't really talked about that. I see the same people in all these satellites, and I know the guys who call off too wide, and I know the guys who are correctly tight, and I know the players who are maybe even a little bit too tight, and I'm definitely taking all that into account. So let's see what happens next hand. Next time I'm in the big blind, this guy shoves. We've no decision here. To be honest, I'd be folding a lot of hands anyway, just given my current stack situation. Probably shouldn't be saying that because some of these people might be watching and now shoving fairly wide on me in future, but yeah, it is what it is. Now, this is the first hand we've seen bad grandma play.
Yeah.
They do a weird thing, which is they raise to two big blinds. Hard to know what to make of that. If I had like anything half decent here, like maybe any ace, I'd be very tempted to just shove.
Yes, my instinct at this moment is that bad grandma is in that situation you described of they came into the final table with a big stack and now they feel a little bit silly for not having chipped up yet. So they're just like maybe raising a Jack 10 suited hand because they feel that they should.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you have to ask yourself how many of these hands are going to call off. Like they need a really strong hand to call off. They're almost locked up now. But if they call even me and lose, they go from being, 90, 95% to suddenly being only maybe 40 to 50%. So like even if they have a hand like kings or queens, they should be shoving. If they have a hand like ace king, they should be shoving. So it's kind of difficult. Yeah. Even with king four, I'm almost tempted to shove and see what happens, but we'll wait for a better spot. Anyway, everybody folds. So background mat gets the blinds and antes. Next hand, ace four on the button.
Yeah, I always shove.
Yeah.
We have a blocker. We're in late position, so the chances of this getting through is incredibly high.
Exactly, yeah. Like, why would this guy call off? He's kind of locked up. And this guy, he'll call wider now because he is kind of like one of the shorter stacks, but he still needs a hand at the end of the day. So we have a very simple shove here. 9-3, we're not going to do anything with. Background again, like going for this two big blind raise. We saw Wymie was kind of doing the right thing of just shoving or folding. Now, admittedly, bad grandma does have to worry about Wymie behind. But like when bad grandma shoves, like Wymie is probably folding kings.
Yeah.
And it's definitely folding ace king. So this is kind of just.
Yeah, I mean, this is the big thing in satellites. You've kind of got to get over your fear of running into it, really, haven't you?
Yeah, that's very much. Now, it's worked so far, and sometimes this can be an okay strategy. Try this a few times, and if nobody's shoving on you, you can keep doing that. This is how I used to win Irish Open satellites 10 years ago. I would always get to the final table with the shortest stack. If it folded around to me, didn't matter what my two cards were I min raised. Most of the time, people folded. If anybody shoved on me, even if I had a strong hand like ace king, I'd fold. And then I'd get through the bubble usually as the chip leader because not enough people were shoving. Now, that doesn't happen anymore. People understand that they can shove on you much wider. But you can try it, see if it works.
As a general rule, I'd say this strategy might work on iPoker, but it probably won't work on PokerStars.
Definitely won't work on PokerStars. You are just saying goodbye to those two big blinds most of the time you do that on Stars.
Yeah.
Okay, 6-5 here, nothing really to talk about from my perspective. He should be shoving very, very wide. And they both fold. Okay, jacks. This is obviously a trivial shove.
Would you have called if bad grandma shoved out of interest?
Ooh, that's a good question. No, because my situation is so good. Like before the hand starts, or before I shove, I've got 10.96. I'm actually in third place now. Yeah, I wouldn't call jacks. I probably wouldn't even call queens if I'm honest. It probably would just be kings and aces. Yeah, so incidentally, this is a spot where potentially I could fold because there's 7 players left, so we're 2 from the seats. Let's say I open to 10 big blinds and everybody behind goes all in. I have the most trivial of folds then because 2 people are going to bust most of the time, pretty much all the time. So it's one of those weird spots where you could actually fold a super strong hand, leaving not very much behind. Anyway, the shove gets through. Blinds go up again. So now the short stacks are getting shorter. Sixes here. Nobody gives me a decision. Bad grandma could probably shove any 2 cards because I'm not going to call off. Given I am now very comfortable third, even though I only have 9 big blinds. I was really delighted when I got this walk. I wasn't calling with sixes. I wasn't calling anybody with sixes. Always ask yourself, do I need to get involved? When you're the shortest stack, yes. So you're looking for shove spots. Now there's no reason to, even though it's nearly going to always work. It still doesn't matter.
Now, Dara, the structure is somewhat slow for an online tournament, typically in these final phases. If this was a faster, hyper type situation. Like, for example, the power path on PokerStars, you can win a power path silver pass and use that for the Irish Open. The blinds come around much quicker. So you'd obviously take more marginal spots in that respect.
Yes. To be honest, not as big a factor as maybe people think, but yeah, you kind of have to just take your tight edges. Now, I think I've actually just inadvertently answered one of the questions that we were asked in chat. If it folds you the small blind, are you jamming any two into YM24? I do feel he's competent, but I still think he'll wake up with a hand sometimes, and I'm not 100% sure he's competent. Not 100% sure he's folding ace jack or those types of hands. So the main question I ask myself is like, do I need to get involved? And at the moment, the answer is no, because I have double the chips of these three almost, and almost 3 times as much chips as this guy. So I'm in really good shape. King 7 on the button. The shove ahead of us, so we have no decision. If the shove hadn't come in,
no, I don't think I would have.
I wouldn't have taken it again for the exactly same reason. Like, no need for. Also, this guy is now very, very short, so I don't think he's going to fold an ace or stuff like king queen, king jack. Okay. Next time we have ace king.
Oh, that's tricky. Yeah. No, we were talking about we don't go with unpaired hands, but we actually cover this guy, and we're in a kind of recoverable position if we lose. I'm guessing you're going to fold.
Yep, you're. I think you've learned something here, Barry. You're complaining about how badly you're running in Paddy. In poker open or Irish open seats. I suspect you're calling off a little bit too wide in these spots. Like, again, just no reason to get involved. Obviously, ace king is in great shape against his range. We're getting the price, but remember what we keep saying: fold equity is the most important thing. Ace queen suited.
Easy shove.
Yeah, the easiest of easy shoves. This time we get called. We were very likely to get called because he was so short, but at the end of the day, we have ace queen suited, and we
obviously
got there against king.
Oh wow!
Sorry, Ingame, whoever you are, that was genuinely unlucky. That's another reason why I win so many seats. I'm just a lucky bastard. Okay, so now let's do a quick stock take. 6 people left, 5 seats. 3 of us should be locked up.
Yep.
So these 3 are now competing against each other. This guy is significantly shorter. So if we were to put probabilities on them, we're all well above 90%, obviously. These guys have 2 seats between 3 of them. He kind of has a bit more than half. So he probably has like 4. It's probably 60-40 between these 3 guys. For the last 2 seats. So I think sometimes people underestimate this guy's chances. Again, we talk about this more in the satellite book, but if we do a guerrilla maths method of like, how likely is he to bubble? How likely is he to bubble? How likely is he to bubble? Well, they both have 1.5 times more chips. So he's 1.5 times more likely to bubble. And they're 1 time and 1. So if you add 1, 1, and 1.5, you get 3.5. So his chance of bubbling are 1.5 times roughly 30%, 45%. So he's actually still slightly better than 50% for a seat. And that is kind of counterintuitive to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, Dara, because all the big stacks are on one side and all the small stacks are on the other. So you get what we call like a collision effect, where in a way the 3 big stacks should just get out of the way and let the other 3 guys go at it against each other. And if that is going to happen, then Steve B 2022, he can make these 2 guys fold quite a bit. And
he has a nice seat. He has a very nice seat, yeah, because he can jam into those 2. These 2 guys are both probably over 70%, so they kind of don't really want to get involved. So yeah, if he was in this seat, it'd be terrible for him because they could be jamming into him. But he's actually got his best possible seat. He's after all the big stacks, and he's jamming into the 2 guys who have
all the reasons to hold.
So again, now this guy just decides to jam. Now he obviously has a hand,
Mhm.
and he covers everybody comfortably. He's not really going to be severely damaged if he gets called, and he does.
What's your jamming range here if you're in his position, Dara? Because like I know the solvers would say, you can probably shove almost 100% of hands, but solvers don't take into account the future game as well as humans.
Also, just the calling range is be too wide. I'd probably go with something like ace 10, ace plus,
Hmm. Okay, good, yeah,
king
yeah,
queen suited, those types of hands. Yeah, it's a long way from any two, but I'm not going to fold a strong hand either.
no,
The thing is, it's mostly going to work. Even if you get called, you're not going to be in terrible shape, and you kind of want to take away the shove spot from this guy as well.
yeah.
Always focus on the exact bubble on who the shortest guy is, and try and take his spots if you can, because you don't want to keep folding. He shoves, he gets back into it, then
Yeah.
one of these guys doubles, and suddenly it's a completely different game. Just take those spots away from him,
So,
basically.
so I guess practically speaking, our biggest motivation for shoving as the big stack is not to win a big pot or eliminate someone, but essentially just to let them keep bleeding away.
Yeah, exactly. Just blind them down. These two guys are both over 70%. So they need like probably queens plus to call. So they're almost never calling. This guy is also like he's actually over 50%. So I mean he should call wider, but even like doubling to this guy is not massively helpful to him. He'll go to 10 big blinds, but he's still in a dogfight with these two guys, not to bubble.
Mm.
So he has to be very tight as well. This is why, in theory, like if you put this in the solver might say shove any two here,
Hmm.
but in practice, people won't fold as tight as they're supposed to.
Yeah.
So again, like he doesn't need to get involved, but if he has a good hand, he shouldn't fold. He should let these guys just take the spot away from this guy. So they all fold anyway, as expected. Next time we have 6-4, so we've no decision. JP McManus, who does seem to be a good reg, like he can shove super wide here. This guy, like again, he's roughly 65-70% now. So he's not looking to get involved. And bad grandma, as we've seen, has no reason at all to get involved. And it gets through. Steve B should be shoving wider than normal in these spots because this guy's going to take his spots when they come.
Yeah.
And these two guys are not going to call off too wide. King 6.
Yeah, I just let this go.
Really weird min raise here. I tend to think this was a hand which was strong enough to call the short stacks and was actually inducing against those.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, like, if he has aces, he shouldn't just jam. He should raise and hope one of these guys calls, and he can end the satellite there and then.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just let it go. Obviously, there's again no reason to get involved. People bleed chips in those spots. They're like, oh well, it's only one big blind.
One big blind. Yeah.
Then they hit a king, and yeah.
Easy fold before you do it. Yeah.
Yeah, again, like the solver would tell me to shove here, but I'm just not. I'm not trusting this guy. There's a viral clip going around of
Yeah, I know you're going to say
Easton Love bubbling against Spraggy. Now he made a solver correct shove, but I would never take that shove.
Yeah.
Because again, he had absolutely no reason to do it. And you know, you do run into aces sometimes, even when you have an ace.
Yeah, no reason.
Yeah, very easy. Now, interesting, he doesn't shove because he obviously feels that this guy's going to call off fairly wide. So if he has a junk hand like 6-2, 7-2, he shouldn't really jam because he's just, most of the time, he's doubling that guy up.
Yeah, yeah.
Just, you know, okay, it's not great letting him take the blinds and antes, but it's much better than doubling him up.
Yeah, it's lesser of two evils.
Yeah, so don't get too crazy in this spot. Now, what do you think here, Barry?
Well, I mean, there is an argument to be made for min raising just to try and get Steve B22 all in, but no, I just wouldn't get involved. To be perfectly honest, 6 isn't a good enough hand to put yourself in any of those situations. If you're going to play it, shove. But no, you've min raised it. Okay,
I did min raise it. I was prepared to call Steve B off. If I lose, I'll be back to 8 big blinds, and that's not ideal, but I'll still be in good shape. I'll be 1 of 4 competing. Again, it's kind of like what's going to happen if I fold and he folds. He's going to shove and he's going to fold, and kind of this thing is going on. So you don't want to overthink. Now, I definitely don't want to shove this hand because I can obviously run into a monster here. And they all folded. So long as you do this judiciously, like people have seen me fold my small blind, fold my big blind, my button, all these things. So you will get respect when you do them, and you know. they'll get scared as aces as well. So, but yeah, don't overdo it.
Question for you: would you do that with fives?
No.
So six really is the line.
Six is rock bottom, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, because I was thinking I was thinking I'd be doing that with sevens, so we're roughly arriving at the same.
Yeah.
Area.
Again, I've answered the question there. Obviously, I'm not playing threes. He again takes his very good shove spot. So again, like we're not taking the two of us are kind of trying to take his spots away, but we can't do it too much because he will stick it in fairly wide as well. So I definitely don't want to raise call even threes. He gets the shove through. I don't play Jack 10. Again, JP just seems to take all his button shoves, which is good strategy. I have 5-3 here. Tech Jam is super short, but I wasn't going to call with 3-5. Again, like I'd mostly just be doubling him up. Bad Grandma finally finds a hand to call with, and I do remember this hand. It was King Jack against aces, so horrifically unlucky for Bad Grandma. I mean, aces is a call in theory. I'm just going to talk now about the mental situation for Bad Grandma. Think about this. They started as the chip leader.
Yep.
Pretty much locked up. Even until recently, we were saying they were 90 to 95%. If we went forward to the next hand, these are the stacks. And now suddenly he's locked up. I'm kind of locked up, although not 100% again. And there's kind of like 5 of us in competition for 4 seats, maybe. Bad Grandma is probably above average. So they're still in a very good spot, but I suspect that it's very difficult for this player now to adjust mentally. They feel like they've been sucked back into it. So it'll be interesting to see their play going forward. They fold the button. I obviously have a very easy fold. Jack 9 on the button. Tech Jam shoves, so I fold. Tech Jam is still taking shove spots, which is good. Getting the money in first again. Fold equity. Steve B, best player to be shoving into. Second shortest stack.
Yep.
Gets the fold. JP McManus, who's also playing a very good strategy of just taking his own shoves. He takes the spot away now from these two players to a large degree. Everybody folds. And 4-5. Steve B takes the shove spot away from JP McManus. And now JP McManus is suddenly the shortest. So kind of the game has changed again. They're going to have to take more wide spots. He doesn't take this spot, so I presume he had terrible hand. Bad Grandma shoves.
It seems like an easy fold. Is not.
Yeah, I have a very trivial fold.
I mean, the easiest call in the world in any other format, but
yeah. Tech Jam again takes the shove spot. Queen 3 on the button. Tech Jam again and you can see how Tech Jam has done really well by just sort of taking all these shove spots in situations where they had very good fold equity. Now they ran into aces and got lucky, obviously, but that's allowed as well. 10-9. Yeah, I don't think there's much to talk about here. An easy fold. The ace 2 suited.
Ooh. I mean, definitely GTO approved, but I don't think you need to do it, right?
Yeah, my thinking exactly. I don't need to do it. JP McManus is always taking these shove spots, but now he gets called off. So this is going to be interesting to see these two hands. King Queen and King Queen.
Oh, that's the worst when you
horrible. When they got it in, it was like, oh great, it doesn't matter. It kind of doesn't matter who. Oh no, wait a minute, it does. Yeah.
I'm not sure I like the call, to be honest with
you.
I'm
not sure I love this call either. No, I don't think so. Again, kind of no. You need to be getting in with fold equity. Again, just to keep repeating myself. Anyway, moving on. I have ace 10 again. Like just no reason to get involved. Like I'm still in great shape. Ace 10 is a very nice hand. It used to be the best hand, but if I shove and get called, guess what? It's not the best hand anymore. So.
What position would you have to be with that stack to shove ace 10? Would you
button probably?
Yeah, okay.
Tech Jam shows. Now you can see Bad Grandma is in a horrible spot. Suddenly they are like sucked right back into it. Again, this can be difficult to deal with mentally. Obviously, I'm not calling off Queen 10.
Nope.
Jack 5. Not calling off that one. JP McManus again, like got short but didn't panic. Kind of just took the shove spots when they came. 8-6 folds. 9-5 folding no matter what. But let's see what happens. Steve does this weird limp.
I mean, that feels like his ace has always got impatient with.
Yeah, JP McManus is having none of it. He's like, no, I'm taking it.
I mean, the one thing I've learned over the years, Dara, is that you just take limps at face value most of the time.
Yeah, people can get a little bit.
Of course, you'll run into a trap now and then, but just take them at face
value. Now you can see the game is getting quite cagey.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm folding 7-5. That's 2 walks in a row, so like you can see, just because the stacks have kind of level. Now Steve B is the shortest, but Bad Grandma is second shortest, having been chip leader at the start. Obviously, I'm never calling off King 5 here. Great spot for Tech Jams to shove super wide, although Bad Grandma is probably likely to make a call with anything decent. King 5 suited. I would have taken this shove, I think. But it didn't come, so I'm not going to call it off. 6-3 on the button. Very strange min raise from JP, who's just been shoving. So this is either a trap or it's to try to make the min raise look scary.
Yeah.
But nobody plays back. Ace-4 suited on the button. Sorry, not on the button, cut off.
Yeah, definitely got to go for it. You're in a situation now where you need to start picking up chips again.
Yeah, I have gotten sucked back into it now. So previous times I folded because there was no need to get involved. Now the need to get involved has become apparent. So again, like this is the one spot where like you can raise 5 big blinds, and if it goes shove, you're definitely folding because somebody's busting nearly always. Anyway, it gets through, so that's good. I do remember it was like quite a tense bubble because at different times I thought I was nearly locked up, but the bubble went on for so long.
Yeah, I mean this is the mental game aspect of satellites. You can get drawn back into it from seemingly.
Yeah, and we're 6-handed, so the blinds and antes are racing around faster as well. Okay, so what do you feel about 10s here, Barry?
Yes, well, it's too strong to fold.
Agreed. So we take that shove spot. 9-3 suited. The shorty shoves. We definitely don't want to get called. We don't want to call here. 36% we need. Maybe we have that, but it doesn't matter. Again, we're back in the sort of like no need to get involved.
Yep.
Mode of operation. Queen 8. This is tempting.
Yeah,
I know this guy's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely can.
Yeah, I decided not to just because Bad Grandma is now so short. I'll wait to see what happens. If they double up, it's a different game. But for now, just kind of no need to get involved. Good question from Poker MQ. Is this standard always good for Irish upsets? They all seem competent. No, this was unusually high, I thought.
Well, this is the 50 rebuy, right? So this is going to be with the good regs that can afford to play in this without satelliting in. I have seen, like, if we were reviewing my last bubble on an Irish Open satellite, polar opposite of this. People were playing way too tight. People were min raise folding, and people were spike calling me with 8-9-0. So no, it's this is probably what it'd be like in the Stars final, though, right? Maybe.
Yeah. This is very close to Stars final.
Tougher, actually. This is a shove, right? It's just.
Yeah, this actually, I did a weird thing here. I bet 4 big blinds. If this guy shoves, believe it or not, I'm going to fold because I'm just going to assume I'm dominated.
Yeah. But you're in a similar position to Bad Grandma, so you can.
And then I'll be at least competing with these two guys. We'll all have roughly the same stack, so I'll still be roughly 2/3 for a seat.
But if Steve shoves, you call, right?
But if he shoves, I'm obviously calling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is what we call the half stack. You see this a lot in ICM situations. It's where you're definitely calling off one guy. Now again, like to balance that, I should be doing it with aces as well.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they both fold, which was the desired outcome. Next hand, Ace 7 suited.
Ooh, yeah. No, yeah. I'm definitely ICM approved. Sorry, GTR approved.
Yeah.
No, no. Based on what everything we've been saying. Okay. Oh, okay. If
Again, I thought, okay, if this guy shoves, I can probably call because I have the extra chips now. If anybody else shoves, I can just fold. To be honest, this one was super close, and I remember thinking, I mentioned earlier my two hands in a row rule, but it's not really two hands in a row because I'm not calling him and I'm not calling him. So I decided to chance it, and I got away with it. But yeah, that's definitely one you could argue about. 9-8, we're not going to play that. A6. I felt now that the whole table was actually playing too tight. And because I had an ace, I also thought I can call off bad grandma.
mm-hmm.
And the last thing I want is bad grandma to get a walk. I thought if I fold, he'll fold a lot. He'll fold a lot. He won't necessarily take the spot because of him. Maybe he'll take the spot, but that'll give bad grandma a spot where they're getting it in with maybe more than 50% equity. So I get, yeah, but now I do get punished. So I'm probably overdoing it. Again, that's one you could definitely argue about. It was just me in game thinking, you know what, they're too tight now, and I can invest these two big blinds, call them off, and maybe end the satellite. But I think it'll work enough as a steal. But yeah, maybe folding was a better option there. Yeah, again, no need to get involved here.
Yep.
People make what would I call them? Impatient calls in these spots. When the bubble's going on forever, they're very, very tense. They just want it to end. But you have to just keep your discipline and play the correct strategy. Again, another show from Steve. So Steve's gotten himself into a grip. Now bad grandma's the one who's in trouble.
Yeah.
They're down to 2.63 big blinds. Suddenly they've lost fold equity on their shoves. And that's a horrible situation to be in. Again, no reason for
I presume at this point everyone else was stalling, right, Dara? Because if you can stall and have the blinds go up on bad grandma, they're in even a worse position.
Yeah, I don't remember how near we were. They're 12-minute blinds on iPoker, so you tend not to see that kind of stalling as much as you do on Ferret, where the blinds are shorter. But yeah, you can see everybody's just kind of waiting now for bad grandma to make their move. Everybody else is kind of in the no need to get involved.
Yep.
Like Queen 9 suited is something I would normally maybe think about, but again, it's like just we're all waiting for this player to do something.
Yep.
Although this guy can take this is a good shove spot for him because these two players are going to be so tight with this stack, and if this player doubles, they're next on the chopping block, so they should still be looking to take spots like this one.
Yeah.
It's a good one to take, obviously. 5 Ace 9. Yeah, again, same thing. I'm going to call off bad grandma now. Bad grandma is so short. I think there's a good chance other people will just call as well. And
yes, you're actually signaling to the table. Let's end this now.
Yeah. I'm hoping the table's paying attention.
Yeah.
But Steve goes for the shove.
Come on, Steve. Come on.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Obviously, I can't call now, but yeah, it's still not the worst result in the world though, because bad grandma is now down to 1.2. So
I mean, Dara, if you're Steve and you've got aces in that spot, I mean, there's an argument for just calling just to increase the likelihood.
They should have just called. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think they should have called and just try and gang up on bad grandma. But okay, so now. Okay, so Tech Jam is getting with the program here. He's like, I'm going to limp. They can only raise to 1.09. Joe can call in the big blind and we can check it down. But bad grandma decides to fold.
I love it, by the way. I'm not going out without making it.
I could jam and if he doesn't have aces or kings, then probably getting it through. But I just thought there's absolutely no need for it. Bad grandma is down to 0.59 now. So even though it looks like I'm super short, I have 9 times as much chips as they have. So I can be pretty chill.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people look at their situation and say, "Oh my god, I've got 4 big blinds. I've got to get moving." But in satellites, in particular, it's all about your relative position in the field, not the number of blinds that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, bad grandma does stick it in here. Now, this was actually a spot I had to think about because If I call here and lose, Bad Grandma is going to be up too close to my stack. So that's not a great situation. He might just take the piss too and shove if I call, because he's obviously locked up. So I gave a lot of thought, but I decided, you know what, I trust this guy not to do anything stupid.
Mhm.
We'll just gang up, and my trust was well placed. We did check it down, and yeah, I had the worst possible hand going in. Sorry, no, I dominated this guy, but I was dominated by the player we're trying to get out. But because we checked it down, anyway, obviously the 10-9 was losing. So yeah, like this is how then Bad Grandma was very unlucky in the end. Obviously very unlucky with the aces. I suspect maybe they locked up a bit too early. That's a mistake. It's not as common as the mistake to see of people getting involved when they don't need to, but you never can completely lock up either. Certainly, there were spots where it was folded around in the small blind, and I have to fold almost everything in the big blind, so they could have taken those shove spots. But yeah, very unlucky in the end. This was an atypical satellite. The reason why I chose it is obviously there was a lot of stuff to talk about. My stack at different stages, I was locked up, I wasn't locked up, I was nearly locked up, I was needing to get involved, had a lot of close decisions. Let me just check for the questions. Jack Buckley asked, what's the cutoff for the stack size you would wanting here to be pretty much fully locked up? I mean, it's always very situational. Like, I mean, obviously, with this guy is locked up at the end, and this guy, and this guy. But even the 8.64 isn't like locked. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard to put really an exact number on it. You're always doing sort of the mental calculations that I've been doing in game of what your chances of getting a seat are. Sam Dobbins, how many big blinds do you allow yourself to go down to and still assume you have fold equity? Roughly 3. Once you drop below 3, it's very hard to have any fold equity. Similarly, what's the most amount of big blinds where you know you're 100%? Yeah, like when you shove less than 2, you're always getting called. That's for sure.
I mean, I think the for people that are unfamiliar with satellite strategy, it's really about chips, not cards, and understanding your relative position in the field is probably the best, most important meta skill. And this goes like even further. Like if you're playing in a satellite where the bubble is on across multiple tables, there's a lot of merit to actually opening up the other tables to see who's all in, who's potentially about to go all in, who is there someone being really aggressive on the table, so on and so forth. I mean, there's a reason why they don't let you do that in live poker.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys have any final questions, put them in chat. Mission Possible asks, what's your win-loss ratio? I've worked out that roughly for every seat I win, which is worth 1150, I spend 250 to 300. So, you know, my ROI is, whatever that works out, almost 300%. This is my favorite time of year. I can trust you. There's nothing else I play where I have an ROI anything close to 300%. That's why I play so many of these satellites and I focus so much on them. This is a time of year that is very profitable for me to play online. And I think, you know, any decent player is going to crush these satellites. Lots of my friends are crushing these satellites by well over 100%. I think if you implemented everything that we talked about today, you would beat all of these satellites by well over 100%. Now, the caveat I'm going to put that on that is that the star satellites are a lot tougher.
Yeah.
The iPoker satellites are a lot softer. My best ROIs, obviously, as I said earlier, in the 10 rebuy, where for I think a total outlay of probably €60, I've won 3 seats worth 3 grand. So I have 5,000% ROI. I've obviously run well in those, but yeah, iPoker satellites really soft, and you can achieve very high ROI. Also, the structure is like good. The star structures are much faster, so that also like negates people's edges.
Yeah. Des wanted to know, did they hear a dog? Yes, that is. I have 2 Cocker Spaniels, and they are whiny. But I managed to mute it for a while.
Yeah. Tom Jones asked, "Do you play Power Pack?" Yeah, I do. I have won a golden pass and silver, a couple of silver passes in the past. They're fast structures as well. So you definitely can't have like the 300% ROI I'm talking about in these satellites.
Yeah.
But they're still healthily profitable. If I had to guess, I'd say my ROI long term in those is like 50 to 100%.
Power Path is a little bit different, Dara, because there's tiers to the number of the prizes you can win. So first of all, you'll win like $100 bronze pass, but then get rid of 40 players, and then you're competing for say 4 1K passes, and sometimes like 1 or 2 gold passes that are worth 10K. So there's a little bit more impetus to be aggressive, particularly on that first bubble, to build up a.
You should be way more aggressive. Yeah, the first time I won a bronze pass, I didn't know what it was, and I thought it was like a 500 or something, and then I was like, "Oh, it's only 100," which is only 2 buy-ins, so it really doesn't matter. People play. That's probably the biggest mistake people play in power pats. They treat that like the bubble. It's not really the bubble. You're aiming for a silver pass or a gold pass, depending on the file you're playing. Some other questions. Adrian, I'd love to see your notes on me. Yeah, Adrian, afraid I can't reveal that. Karen thought the quiz was tonight. No, the quiz, you have to be an Academy member, and it will be starting on the Academy. Barry, actually, you know more about that. Maybe you want to share.
Yeah, we'll clear up the final questions in a second, but we'll just do the upsell at this point. So everyone was so sick of Dara winning all these packages that the Irish Open have very kindly allowed us to give one away to our Simplified Poker Academy community. Sorry, I put 1100, but it's 1150.
That's Barry maths, like
you don't have to make up the last €50 yourself. So, Simplified Poker Academy is a monthly subscription site we have. You get free videos a month and a webinar. We just did a webinar just before this one, the monthly one there. You've got access to all of our previous material. We've been going for a year now, so it's quite a big database. And you're not locked in for a year. You can join for 1 month and see if you like it. We kind of think that you'll like it long enough to stick around for a while. And we have a community, the Academy, where very intelligent, very respectful, friendly bunch of people ask questions and help each other out, and they're not afraid to ask silly questions. There's no embarrassment in here, only on me. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have a quiz. We're going to do like a question every other day, starting on Monday, and they're going to be strategy questions, but there's going to be an aspect of explaining your thought process. It's not just going to be multiple choice, and that will make it both a kind of a skillful endeavor, not just a lottery kind of thing, but also in the event of a tie, we're going to pick out the player that we felt demonstrated the most acumen when it comes to thinking about these spots. Dara will be the one judging that. If you the only people who should do this are people who are actually going to attend the Irish Open. Your travel expenses are not covered, so it's really for someone that was always going to go or can easily get there. And if you're interested in that, you can go to simplifiedpoker.com/academy. Check it out. If you've got any questions, just find us on social media. If that's not doesn't sound for you, if you go to simplifiedpoker.com and just head over to the top right corner, we have a lot of free material, including another satellite video. Dara, I went into I won a 1K package for another tour. I thought I played like an absolute boss, but Dara gave me a good ticking over. So if you're not able to join the Academy, there's lots of free material that you can make the most of. And like I said, you are not locked in for a year if you do join. And yes, it is the Academy is separate to the courses that we have. So the courses that we have are on specific topics. Like we have a study course, which is all about the fundamentals of poker. We have a post-flop ICM course, which is about end game strategy when you get to the flop. We have a multi-way course, which is about pots with more than 2 players in them. The Academy is different. So what we do there is we try and replicate what it's like to be a one-to-one student of Dara's at scale. So that involves studying lots of different topic areas, so we cover lots of different topic areas. There's lots of hand history reviews and so on. And we also create a lot of content specifically requested by our members. So in there we have like hand history reviews of our members. Members will suggest things, certain things resonate with members, so we do more content like that. And then there's the social aspect to it as well. So what you've previously purchased is some of our standalone courses, which concentrate very detailed on a particular topic area. This is a much more robust coaching experience that we hope is like being one of Dara's private students.
Yeah, and just to slightly add to what Barry said, like the community is a super important part of that. That's kind of like what it's like to be in a very good study group with other very good players. That's something we wanted to create too, and we have successfully created now. When we started the academy, most of the message threads were like members asking questions and either me or Barry answering. Now less and less we need to answer because other academy members will pipe in and give and give the answers we would have given anyway. So it's a much more collaborative experience. And I think it's a very good experience. The best way to improve quickly is to work with other strong players. And that's the kind of thing we replicate. In addition to, the one-to or the webinars that I do and the videos I make with Barry, which go up there every month. So we think it's well worth the value at $50 a month, which I think is the current price. Anne asked, I've purchased a course. Do I have to the academy? Unfortunately, you do, Anne. Yeah, but the thing is, we don't lock anybody in for a year. It's month by month. So Barry probably won't be happy if I say this, but you could just join for 1 month.
No, I'm very keen to tell people to do that. So we probably have something like 40 videos now, and I kind of feel like the videos, 2 or 3 of the videos is worth 1 month of the subscription price. If you can blast through all of those in a month, then mazel tov, go for it. It's no issue at all. We kind of have made that the USP. We're not going to lock you in for 12 months. Got some more questions.
Yeah.
So Sam is recommending the academy. We do have some very intelligent members. We've got a guy, Sidon Gunter. He's just won Party Poker Sheffield, a good friend of mine. A lot of our members really put themselves out there. Like I think Ed Latter is in the chat today, and he does a very brave thing that a lot of our members do. Is like he really exposes himself to potential criticism with some of the hands he posts. He posts his thought processes and videos and stuff. And that's kind of one of those things where the more you put into it and the more you, leave yourself a little bit vulnerable, the more you're actually going to get out of it. It's better, in our opinion, than say if you went on, say, 2+2 and it's a bit of a dick swinging contest between people trying to show how smart they are. We don't have to do that here. Travel recommendations. You got any travel recommendations for the Irish Open? I mean, if you're going to go, book your hotel now because they're already pretty pricey, and there's potentially a very big second round of an Irish football game potentially happening. Would make it extortionate. So book early. Cancel the hotel you can now.
Yeah, definitely book early. We have some Irish Open threads on the community where members are sharing that sort of information as well. So, as Sam said, there's more to it than just strategy. There's also a social aspect, but people giving each other like travel tips as well. That's all very valuable. One question, which I think I didn't answer yet: do you use a HUD? Yeah, I do, and I think it's actually super important in satellites because there's such a wild difference between some players who are, playing 10% of hands and other players who are playing 80% of hands. Now, we didn't see too many of the latter tonight because of the point we started the tournament. But earlier in the tournament, if I had done it from the start, you would have seen guys just YOLOing it in with all sorts of really weird hands. Some people have strange theories about satellites that you should just try and gamble and get a stack. You see those players, it's important to know where they are so that when you look down at a hand that you would never call against a normal player, but you suddenly realize there's a monster against them, you can get those early chips. Or at least just after the late register close chips. And
if you're not using a HUD, make sure you're making use of player notes and color coding.
Yeah, because you run into the same players over and over again, and it's important to kind of think. Now, the one caveat I would put on that is some players change their style considerably, and we saw one example of that on this final table with Bad Grandma, who was, I believe, the loosest player in the tournament before the final table started, and then played almost no hands. Correctly, because they were almost locked up. But you should be aware of that. You don't look at the HUD of somebody and go, oh, they're playing 40% of hands. Maybe that was early in the tournament. The other thing, apart from using a HUD, is I pay far more attention in satellites than I do in my regular tournaments. I have a kind of a standard game that I'm playing when I'm, let's say, 12 tabling online. But in satellites, I'm almost never playing my standard game, because hopefully I've conveyed tonight that there's a lot to think about. Like, am I locked up? How much am I looking to get involved? How much fold equity do I have in this spot? These are all things you have to think about in a satellite, over and above what you would normally be thinking about in a normal tournament. So important to pay attention to that stuff.
And then, yes, and maybe the last pitch for the Simplify Poker Academy is Dara will say when he's having a night off if you are thinking about playing in this size. But no, that's been lots of fun. Lots of great questions. If anyone has any more questions, by all means, fire away to us on social media. We can't promise that we would reply as quickly as we would in Simplify Poker Academy, but we try to help as much as we can. So thank you from me, and thank you as always, Dara. And I guess you're not playing any of them tonight.
I'm not making that commitment, Barry.
Okay.
Later Age is still open, so you might see me in them later on.
Well, for those of us who are very, very close to their bedtime, thank you very much.